The story begins with an ugly man named Dago leading a war where he slays countless soldiers. However, even after this, he is not victorious and ends up visiting a temple to cleanse his bad luck. At this temple, he states his grievances to some weird-looking gods who offer him a solution to his problem. This would however cost him his unborn baby. He is asked to share the baby's body into 48 parts so that they can divide it between themselves. Following this, he is promised victory at any war he may decide to embark on. Blinded with the desire for victory and willing to get rid of every possible obstacle, he gives up his unborn child. After the deed is done and his trade with the godlike demons becomes successful, an old man shows up to warn him about his actions. But this only gets him very angry, and then he slays the old man. That will teach you to mind your business, oldie. 20 years later, the baby grows into a man who is born to his parents without 48 parts of his body and was also abandoned. He visits a house in a small town where he gets into a fight with some crazy big demonic spider. After a series of attacks and defenses, he eventually destroys the monster. Meanwhile, a boy and a girl who had been watching the whole drama from a distance are struck with surprise. They watch the ugly sight as the young man grows a new leg, thrashing out his former leg, just after killing the monster. They scream out loud and the girl ends up running off to an old man who explains the story of the supposed monster to the girl. It happens that his father, Dago, had already given out 48 parts of his body even before he was born. His mother, scared that he might be killed, wraps him up in a basket and sends him off on the riverbank. Here, a strange man picks him up and then takes him to his apartment to fix up his whole body. Little by little, the mysterious man begins to fix the baby's body part. He had gotten other body parts from babies that were originally dead. After cooking the body parts together and mixing it with some concoctions, he begins to remold new body parts and then also tests them with electricity. In a while, he is finally able to fix up the whole body of the baby. He is happy that he is able to achieve this, but at the same time, surprised that despite the excruciating pain that is involved with fixing its body part, the baby seemed determined through the process because it had persevered until the completion of the spell. He also feels a little bit of connection with the lad. On a particular day, having fixed all the body parts of the baby, he takes a walk and on his return, he is shocked to see different strange spirits asking the baby for its body parts. After casting them away with his presence, a man emerges from the room and it happens to be a traveler whom he is familiar with. They settle down and the man ends up telling him little about the baby's background, how his father had given him up to demons and had also given up on him, and now, even if his body parts are fixed, the demons feel stupid and are after his body. Thanking the old man who hands him some strange revenge weapons to fix on the baby's hand, they both disperse. As time passes, the baby grows into a young boy, and although his whole body is still bandaged, the man begins to fix the other parts of his body slowly. He fixes the first weapon in his left hand and promises to fix the second one when he is a little bit more mature. Following this, he begins to teach the young lad how to talk. Slowly, they grow up to be familiar with each other. He also teaches the boy how to fight and maintain his weak and temporary body. Their bond grows so strong that he has adapted to calling the man his father, unknown to him that he is not his real father. Things become very complicated when the boy who had now grown into a young man returns from a short walk on a fateful day. He meets his supposed father wriggling in pain on the floor. He quickly rushes towards his direction and tries to help him. However, it appears that the young man who had once picked him up by the riverbank had grown really old, and it is time to join his ancestors. While the young man tries all his best to help him, he just stays put and holds the young man down, telling him to make sure he burns down their house after his death. This is to get rid of every remnant of concoction that he had used to fix his body. He also tries to tell him about his father and then tells him that he is not his real father, but he kicks the bucket immediately after fixing his second hand. After mourning for a while and at first, although refusing to accept that the man is not his father, he eventually gets over the whole incident, and then obeys him by burning the house and leaving everything behind to find out about himself. He is later told by some mysterious strange man that his father had given out all his missing body parts to some demons, and until he kills them, he will never be able to retrieve these parts. This is traced back to his reason for fighting some strange big spider and growing his leg back after killing it. All of these past happenings are explained to the girl who had watched the young man slay the spider, slay the monster, and grow another leg. The old man who had told her the story tells her to pay him for what she had heard, but she says that he should tell her about the revenge sword that is fixed in his both hands and what will happen if he tries to kill a human with it. The old man is silent, so she decides to find answers by herself. And as they say, curiosity kills the cat. Although it does not happen that way for this girl when she approaches the strange young man. Knowing that she is a talented thief, he ignores her when she first approaches him and begins to spill some rubbish from her mouth. However, her persistence only grows stronger and she begins to ask him about the swords fixed in his arms. He gets frustrated and gives her a short scary warning, but the girl keeps following him and even ends up asking for his name. He stops for a while to tell her that his name is Hayeki Maru, and in the process, he also gives her some strange name called Dororo, saying that it seems perfect for a thief like her. She does not stop following him after this and even accepts to be called Dororo since she likes the name. She follows him and ends up walking her legs off their socket. They soon stop at a riverbank to rest. However, only Hayeki rests his head while Dororo keeps pestering him about the two swords attached to his hand. She tells him that she had heard all about him, and then he admits to having the revenge sword in his two arms and how he is willing to give her to them after slaying all the demons and retrieving all his body parts. Having said this, she finally gives him a short break and then resumes her disturbance again. Sensing the arrival of some spirits, he springs up quickly, alerting Dororo, who later becomes calm when he approaches a giant creature crying like a baby behind her. After safely following the creature to a distance and keeping its company as though it's an infant, he explains to Dororo that the giant is a full body of the spirits of infants that were lost in war. After a while, what Hayeki had said is fully confirmed when some parents come to offer rice balls to their dead child in the already burnt temple. Dororo shows up and almost kills them in annoyance, blaming them for abandoning the child and now bringing some stupid food to a desolate place after the war. She says that weakness is not an excuse and they should have first protected the baby with their last breath. Hayeki is the one who stops her from striking them down as she leaves in annoyance. Having stormed out of their presence, she heads deep into some forest as Hayeki follows from behind. However, he tells her that they only happen to be coincidentally going down the same route and he is not following her. She confirms this when she turns towards a different route and sees that he does not truly pay attention to her. She quickly runs back to catch up with him and here they see a strange man. Meanwhile, she had originally made him understand how her own parents fought for her survival until their last breath. Hayeki later approaches her to hear the rest of her story. She tells him that her father was brutally killed by a man called Dago, and this resulted in the early death of her mother. She is the only survivor from her family and she has lived every single day as a strong man instead of a woman that she is, because she wants to take a brutal revenge. She tells Hayeki that she is determined to eliminate him and his entire clan from history. Back to their experience in the forest, the strange man approaches them and offers them shelter in his mansion. Seeing their travelers and thinking that Dororo is Hayeki's companion, they accept the offer to spend a night at his inn. However, unknown to them, he had other plans. They find out about his other wicked plans that same night as some strange little girls he had introduced to them as his children change into some strange creatures and try to eat them up overnight. Hayeki quickly steps in to save them as they make an exit through a secret escape route. Hayeki and Dororo scan through a strange room underground the mansion, where they see bones of dead children who had been taken from their parents after promising to provide food and shelter for them. Hayeki sees that they had been eating the children all along and the poor parents have been ignorant and blindfolded. He is very upset and decides to expose them to the villagers. Following this, he goes to destroy more of the creatures that had tried to eat them and now approaches the man that had offered them the shelter, and the strange creature who had disguised as a woman who loves him. Before destroying her, he tries to warn the man whom he senses has some good conscience left in him to stay away from the woman as she is only pretending to love him. However, before Hayeki could say any more words, the woman thrust her sword in both the man and Hayeki's chest respectively. However, only the man loses his life. Hayeki only heals immediately. He has the ability to regrow any body part that is injured or pierced because he is not originally operating with his own body parts, and they had already been mixed with different spells and concoctions. Seeing this, the creature disguised as a woman tries to escape, but he stops her immediately, and with the help of the spirits of the murdered children, she is brought down from the sky that she had initially flew to, and in a twinkle of an eye, Hayeki ends her life before all the villagers. Following this, he tells them about the creature and what they had been doing to the children they gave up for adoption. Having killed the creature, a part of his body regrows. Seeing him vomit his liver gets the villagers alerted, and with this, they begin to chase both him and Dororo out of their town even if he had helped them. He wriggles in pain as his body part regrows and Dororo tries to guide him from them during the process. She protests their ungrateful behavior and eventually follows behind him when he regains consciousness. He had only looked at the ingrates and departed from them after telling him to leave rudely, and ignoring them, Dororo also leaves. They set out to find the rest of the creatures and help him regain the rest of his body parts. After this, he can now fully give the revenge blades on his two arms to Dororo. They eventually meet these monsters as although it takes so much effort to take them down, Dororo adds to Hayaki's determination, and together, they take down 2 crazy creatures and help him regain more of his body parts. The last creature that they take down possesses crazy wings and seems to know a lot more about Dororo than the rest of the demons. It also appears very difficult to conquer, but eventually, they both finish it off. However, before vanishing into the air, the creature mentions his father, telling him to leave the demons alone and hate his father instead. Having eliminated the demon, Hayaki falls down and becomes unconscious. Following this, his left hand regrows as he keeps one blade. However, he seems unhappy and inquisitive after he tells Dororo that the last creature they had slaughtered mentioned something about his father. Although he has now regained his throat and voice, he is very unhappy, and he is also eager to find out about his parents and what really happened in the past. He accompanies Dororo as they walk more distance trying to find the rest of the creatures. Here, she mentions the death of her parents again and he sympathizes with her. She curses Daigo and recounts how her poor father had been shot arrows on different parts of his head and his leg, and how her mother gave up the ghost from exhaustion and cold. How she had also told her to identify as a boy and never cry until she finds a man that is as strong as her own father. Following this, they retire for the day, and on the next morning, they are attacked by a few servants from the new castle of Diaga. They approach them and seize Dororo immediately, saying that they had come to check if she was one of them. She tells them to cut the crap, and this only gets them more annoyed as they rough handle her. Without knowing exactly why they are exactly being attacked, they still manage to take down the soldiers. Dororo hesitates to finish them off, and when Hayaki asks, she says that it will be of no use, and following this, they try to find their way through to the city. In a while, they appear in the city, where different people are seen carrying out different activities. Hayaki had been ushered into a little restaurant by a man who tried to secure a job for him. He introduces him to Tauyo Maru after asking him if he does not mind taking up a construction job. Taking some sort of interest in him, Tauyo Maru unconsciously leads him to the castle, where he begins to have some strange discussions with him. Unknown to himself that Hayaki is his elder brother, he asks him what he really thinks of the king and if he thinks he is a bad king or a king that is only trying to make the world a better place. He tells Tauyo Maru how he dreams to take down threatening cities in war with his father and rule after his demise. Hayaki only observes him, and following this, he takes him inside the other chambers of the castle, where he asks Hayaki to meet the queen. The queen approaches him, and after merely exchanging pleasantries, she raises her head as their eyes meet. Immediately, she recognizes a cloth that she had used to wrap her son, who was born without 48 parts of his body. She figures out that he is her son and is very shocked that he now possesses all his body parts. After recounting that he is the original Tauyo Maru, she loses consciousness and falls to the ground, where she is helped and revived by her maids. Seeing this and finding out fully about his background, Hayaki is overwhelmed and, of course, tries to leave immediately. However, he is quickly stopped by Tauyo Maru, whom he hits, temporarily giving him a minor pain by the lower belly, which aids his quick exit. Having left, the queen has now regained consciousness and is now having a discussion with Diaga about their other son, where Tauyo Maru is seen eavesdropping. She tells him that the real Tauyo Maru had returned with his full body, and she feels guilty for giving his name to his younger brother. However, instead of being remorseful and concerned, he says he does not exactly regret giving his body parts to the demons, and that he will slaughter anyone that gets in the way of acquiring the power to get rid of kingdoms that are a threat to his territory. Having said this, Tauyo Maru hurts from where he is eavesdropping, while the queen resolves to find her son on her own. Meanwhile, Hayaki returns to Dororo very sad. He tells her that he will no longer be able to talk to her or see her. She is very shocked and disgusted at this statement, but she becomes rather angry when he tells her that his reason for wanting to stay away from her totally is that Diaga, her enemy, happens to be his father. Dororo does not believe this at first, as she tells him to stop playing an expensive trick. He tries his very best to convince her, but she still does not believe, until he offers to send everything that is going on in the castle into her head through his powers. She agrees and then listens after holding hands with him. Following this, she breaks down sadly, and he tells her to strike him immediately if she wants to kill him, and if she will not do that, he will leave and never show up before her again. Having waited for her to stab him and she refuses, he stands up slowly and leaves. However, he had only walked a very short distance when she followed him from behind and pierced through his heart with a knife. Luckily for him, the part becomes healed immediately, where he recounts that he had not regained his real heart back. Dororo is relieved that he does not die, but she is still blinded by her desire for revenge, and so she walks away very angry and sad. Later that night, there is so much silence between them as the old man who had initially told Dororo his story acts as an intermediary between them. He tries to convince Dororo to desist from taking revenge, but she cries very hard and says that her parents' legacy will surely go to waste if she does not avenge their death. Meanwhile, Dororo is visited by two strange creatures who are in the form of horses but happen to actually be part of the demons that have a part of his body. They try to manipulate him to kill himself and also tell him more about how his father had given his body parts to them without exactly giving it a second thought. They call him a fool for pestering them and trying to regain all his body parts. Following this, they say that he will never receive any accolades or validation from his father even if he regains all his body parts. They keep manipulating him until they tell him to kill himself and die in peace. It gets very intense, and thinking that they have gotten him finally distracted, they attack him. However, Hayeki happens to be guarded and ever ready, so he slashes them in a single attack. Following this, he regains his two eyes, and the next minute, he opens his original eyes to see Dororo standing right before him. She happens to have considered forgiving him and also forgetting about revenge. This is because she had weighed her options and had accepted that he is not guilty of his father's sins. She forgives him, and although he says that he will slay his father and cut out 48 parts of his body, Dororo does not believe him because there is no way he will kill his own father. Meanwhile, back at the castle, the queen tries to find her poor son, but Tauyo Maru stops her from doing this. He appears to be very jealous of his brother and also wants to be regarded as the only Tauyo Maru. To him, it also happens that Hayeki seems like a threat to the throne, hence his rage. He stops his mother and pushes her back violently. Some guards try to stop him, but he kills them off in a twinkle of an eye and sends his mother back to her room. He also instructs some guards to watch over her and promises to have their heads in his hand if she ever leaves her chambers. She protests bitterly, but he only ignores her and goes straight to find his brother so that he can kill him. Meanwhile, Daiga, his father, is visited by the rest of the demons who tell him that his son is about to take everything that belongs to him, and it is only a power of time before he regains all his body parts and renders his plans from the beginning. This annoys Daigo, who also sets out to find and kill him immediately. Meanwhile, Tauyo Maru had already gotten to the place before his father. Without wasting time, he attacks Hayeki, saying that he is the only one that must be addressed as Tauyo Maru. Unknown to Hayeki, his brother is now being possessed by one of the demons. He ends up accidentally stabbing him by the neck, and just at this time, their mother shows up. Upset that he had killed his brother, she draws out a knife. However, when she moves closer to him, she is unable to specifically do anything to him because he is also her son. Just at this same heated point, Daiga shows up and approaches Hayeki immediately. His wife quickly steps forward to protect the only son they have left, but he kills her without flinching and approaches Hayeki even further. Surprised and angry at the way his mother is slaughtered like a ram, he gets into a serious fight with his father. Dororo had tried to stop him from hurting or killing his father, but he knocked her unconscious to prevent her from getting in the way, and also getting hurt, and ended up injuring him and having the upper hand. Here, they get a little emotional when he asks how he had regained his body parts and how Hayeki says that his father had made it for him before his demise. They fight a little bit more and Hayeki ends up taking his father down completely. However, when he has the chance to finish up the old man, he does not eventually do this. He displays humanity by stating that Dororo gave up her revenge because of him, and he also decides to forgive his father for his silky behavior. Having said this, Daiga begins to slowly feel remorse, and just in time, the last creature shows up and tries to manipulate Daiga, asking him to give up his body for possession in exchange for Tauyo Maru's body. Knowing that he loves his second son so much, he agrees to give up his body. Hayeki tries to stop him and also for the first time, calls him father. He does not listen to the boy and ends up giving up his body to pay for his sins. Tauyo Maru is restored to life. However, after taking possession of his body, the demon tries to kill his two sons and also take over the city. Realizing the mistake his father had made, Hayeki observes the creature in his father's body for a while, and ends up eliminating it with a single attack. Following this, Tauyo Maru rushes down to their father, who has returned to himself but is now severely injured. He tells Tauyo Maru to take over the kingdom and also tells Dororo to help take care of Hayeki, his first son. Following this, he tells them to stay away from him, and then a self-destruction takes place. Following this, Hayeki regains his original heart and also returns to the castle with Dororo and his brother. Although he is offered the throne, he refuses to take it and returns to his friend, Dororo, while his brother promises to hold the city together until he returns to claim his throne.